Um, it's a great joy for me to be a part of this. Geshe requested if I can speak a little bit about His Holiness the Dalai Lama's the 3 commitments or the 4 commitments to the audience. So it has been a few years that I've been knowing Geshe Lobsang Tenzin, and before I met Geshe Lobsang Tenzin, I've been actually traveling to Mumbai almost every year since 2010. And there was a crave inside me. There was the aspiration inside me that there are so many people in Mumbai who are interested in psychology, in philosophy, in the way of life, and so forth. There must be some center there. And inside me, I was just wondering as to how to make it possible. And to the extent that at one point, I became so desperate, wanting to set up like a branch there in Mumbai, Tibet House, Mumbai branch. This was what I was thinking. And then suddenly, when I was invited by Dr. Niveditaji and the arts-based therapy there, then suddenly I saw a young Geshe there. Wow, where this young Geshe came from? In Mumbai. It gave me such a relief. And then this young Geshe approached me, and then I came to realize that he's based in Mumbai. It gave me such a joy. And then through the interaction, I came to realize that he is there just for the sake of dharma, to help the people there. And his basic idea is that India has been exceptionally kind to the Tibetans in many ways. Number one, they rendered shelter to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Nobel laureate. The Nobel laureate, in fact, today, if many of you already know that according to the census, or according to the very informal the election, the voting, His Holiness, most of the times, His Holiness always comes at the top in the list of the leaders who the public are most fond of. So today we see that, had it been keeping aside all the political complications, today His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he is the greatest of the leader today, living legend today. And India give a shelter to such a legendary leader of the world, which we can hardly imagine coming on this earth, even in 1 millennia. So today we have such a leader, world leader of compassion, leader of a bodhisattva on this earth. And in fact, all the leaders can learn from this messenger of the Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And then he told me that India is like the home, second home for our the leader, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, number one. And number two, that Tibetan people, after being brutally being treated by the communist Chinese, annexed the Tibet, because of which then the Tibetan people, they just followed His Holiness, they loved leader, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to India, and India readily accepted not only His Holiness, but the people also, the Indian government accepted. So therefore, he said that I feel so much of connection with the Indians, Indian government, the Indians at large, that we feel the responsibility to repay the kindness of the Indians. So for that matter, coming to know that people, the Indian people, they have a tremendous quest, particularly amongst the educated youngsters. There's a tremendous quest for knowledge, psychology, philosophy, way of their living, and so forth. So he felt that this is the same, in the least form, we can be of some service to the Indian public. So therefore I came here. This is what he said. I was so moved by this incredible, young, very dynamic, extremely accomplished teacher, Geshe Dorji Damdul, and having started this, the center, Menlhai Chamjeling Center, this is very inspiring. So all the people that I know in Mumbai and in other places are always, they make it a point not to miss to mention Geshe-la's name and to say that you are very fortunate now. Now my burden, in a way, my burden about having to think about Mumbai and then what to do. What can I do? The burden is removed by Geshe Dorji Damdul's presence there. So we are all very fortunate, all the people of the world, and particularly the people in Mumbai. They are very fortunate to have such the greatly accomplished teacher there, so compassionate, so loving. And actually I had the honor of going to a center the last year, and met with him, his students, and it's really, really, really inspiring to see that there's somebody there. And then the people of the Mumbai, they should know that there's such the great teacher there. So they should make it a point not to miss the opportunity, the presence of such great teacher and the center. Okay. So today, all of us, we know that it's the birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I can see that from the face of each one of us here, that today, if you are to really cast the vote to say that who is the greatest leader in this world, and who you want, if there's a possibility for that leader to manifest himself in all the nations, who would that leader be? All of us will say it is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just imagine that His Holiness the Dalai Lama is the leader, the same person manifesting in all the different nations of the world is going to be very different. There's no territorial annexation. There's no corruption. But one of the best examples that I can think of the leaders was the Lee Kuan Yew, Singaporean, the first prime minister. I have no idea about him in detail, but the first thing that I heard about him was that the moment he became the prime minister, he said that I have two commitments. That is my job. One, to make sure that each and every citizen of Singapore has a shelter, has a place to live in, number one. Number two, to make sure that each and every citizen of Singapore has a job to sustain themselves. This is amazing. This is what should be like. It's not about the glamour of the individual, glamour of the president, the prime minister, not wanting not to lose the position. This is not the point. The point is that the citizens should be benefited. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama, if there's a possibility for us, if our karma ripens, that His Holiness can manifest like in hundreds to be the leaders of all these nations, big and small, no doubt today the world is going to be very different. Never mind. The point is that His Holiness has a tremendous plan for the world today and tomorrow, present and the future. So what plans He has? What He could foresee is that what the world is today, we should not live in the dream. We should live in the reality. And the reality is that the world is chaotic. It's chaotic. Say, look at all these territorial annexations happening everywhere in the world. I learned that there are 21 countries where there's a problem happening currently with the Communist Chinese. And all this corruption is happening here and there, everywhere in the world, everywhere, big and small. Corruption's happening. And the leaders, they're just focused on not losing their position. That's it. Had it been the case that one is to give up the national interests for the sake of not losing one's position, they're they dare to do it. This is very unfortunate situation. Mahatma Gandhi was a very different leader. He's ready to quit his position or to hold any position, given that India gains independence. Likewise, all over the world, had it been like Mahatma Gandhi, all over the world, all the leaders of the world is going to be very different. The population of the world, they can have a sound sleep. They will have some bread to eat every day. They can say good morning to the neighbors. They don't have to live in fear. They will have no discrimination against gender. There's no discrimination on the basis of gender, race, religion, and so forth. So this is what the ideal world should be like. So as I said earlier, never mind His Holiness the Dalai Lama, somebody, the embodiment of compassion. Just imagine that His Holiness is the leader of America, of this country, that country, and so forth. The world is going to be very different, guaranteed. But let us not give up. Let's not worry too much about it. His Holiness has a plan for us. What's the plan? That's the important. What's the plan? And the plan is not that His Holiness gives you some miracle and then we take this miracle and then the world will be transformed. No. He leaves some advice. Practical advice, not just the dream advice, a practical advice for the world. What is that? So this Geshe Lobsang Tenzin requested me to share with you, and I'll be happy to share with you in line with what I've seen His Holiness himself when I was traveling with His Holiness for the last several years to different parts of the world. So wherever His Holiness travels, the experts, various experts, educationists, social workers, medical experts, then the business experts, and all these different experts, they come up with one question to His Holiness. Particularly, I remember in Rochester, when His Holiness was addressing the Mayo Clinic, the doctors and nurses and the medical professionals. Then the doctors, at the end of the address, one of the doctors asked His Holiness, modern education is meant to give rise to the development of the humanity. On the contrary, today, the modern education has reached to such a level of development, height of development. On the contrary, the world is going downturn rather than really proliferating. So what's the reason? His Holiness, without second thought, he said that it's because of the limitation of the modern education. The limitation of modern education. So from this, then the whole concept of the three commitments in the earlier days, and then since recently, like 2 years, 1 year ago, His Holiness added one commitment. He now calls it as 4 pillars. 4 commitments or the 4 pillars. At times he will just say 3 commitments. So these can be the 4 commitments. You can condense them into 3 commitments, or you can elaborate them into 4 commitments. Geshe Lobsang Tenzin asked me if I can speak a little bit about the 3 commitments or the 4 commitments, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so basically to give like the summary of what His Holiness's thoughts on this, to the question, the modern education, while it is climbing such a height of development, the world is going downturn with all the problems increasing. So there, His Holiness comes up with these commitments there. Number one is promotion of human values. Number one, promotion of human values. And number 2 is promotion of religious harmony. Number 2. Number 3, creating the Tibetan awareness about Tibet. Number 3. Then the number 4, the fourth pillar. Fourth pillar is creating the awareness for the need to develop, to revive the ancient Indian rich philosophical culture. And I'm going to explain each one of them in just form. And then in the end, we can have some question answers. If you have, I'll be very happy to do so. Number one is promoting human values. His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So this is it's amazing thought process which everyone, the leaders of the world, and even the commoners of the world, all the citizens of the world, we should learn from him. The number 1, which is promotion of the promotion of the human values. So His Holiness identifies himself as number 1, as a human being, rather than before himself identifying as a Tibetan or a Buddhist. He identifies himself as a human being. He said the most important identity that we have, that we need to hold on to, is that we are all human beings. So with this, he says that we need to have the human values. Human values, that is the priority above all other identities. So His Holiness, if you meet His Holiness in person, today, if you meet His Holiness in person, what he will do, you will be fascinated. First, you think that, oh, he's a big celebrity, and then you may be a little nervous. And you sit right next to him. You will be thrilled to see that your nervousness will dissolve in few seconds. And then you may not notice you are talking all the time. His Holiness is not talking. Actually, you came there to seek advice from His Holiness, and you are just taken away, carried away by His Holiness's warmth, that you are talking all the time, and then your time up. Okay, so you forgot to ask what you have to ask. Why? Because His Holiness sees you as a human being, not as different from him. He sees himself as a human being, sees himself as you as another human being. On that regard, he would just listen to you. Just by listening to you, when will this happen? Say the big shots, the big leaders of the nations. Do you think that they will listen to you? Say you have a meeting for like 10 minutes. 10 minutes, do you think they will listen to you? No. They will ask you, tell me what you have to ask me. 2 minutes, say a few seconds. Then we'll dictate everything, we'll leave, we'll go. So that is how other leaders do. But His Holiness is very different. You will feel the warmth. Just a little digression. What happened was that there was one gentleman from Sri Lanka. He came to my office, and then he said that he's going to have a meeting at the audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Then I was just listening to him, and he says that, oh, this idea, that idea, it took him about like more than half an hour. I said that, okay, when you go to His Holiness, what is your question? Don't waste your time just beating around the bush. Because if this is how you do, what you did to me now, if you do the same true thing, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, His Holiness will never say stop. He will just keep listening to you. And the next appointment will come. Your time is over. So therefore, you have some very important points to raise, and you will miss all these things. You came there not to advise His Holiness. You came there to listen to the advice of His Holiness. So you should be very cautious, because His Holiness will say very good, and then you will be carried away. This is who His Holiness is. He's so kind, so warm. Okay, so with this in mind, the number 1 is the promotion of human values, which means that human values Finally, there are many complicated classifications there of the human values like gratitude, like the understanding, self-discipline, and so forth. But all can be summarized in one point, that is the unconditional love towards others. Unconditional love towards others. With this attracts all other good qualities of human beings, human good qualities. Naturally, understanding will happen. Naturally, the dialogue, sense of dialogue will happen. Naturally, compassion will happen. Naturally, gratitude will happen. Naturally, self-discipline will happen. All these good qualities will be attracted by the sense of concern for others, or sense of love and affection, genuine love and affection for others, unconditional love for others. This is what His Holiness calls as, the promotion of human values. And that should transcend the gender, race, then the ethnicity, then the geopolitical differences. It should transcend all these. In other words, this love and compassion should transcend all other things, should see all others as your members of the same family. This is what His Holiness calls as the human values. Number one. Number two, promotion of religious harmony. Whether we acknowledge ourselves as religious people or not, it doesn't matter. The world should be a happy world. The world should not suffer. Because of that, the world, even if one may not be religious, it doesn't matter. But there are so many people who are religious. And not only that, religion plays a very important role, can play a very important role in destroying the world and in creating the world. When the leaders are very good, when the leaders are really matured, they can create the world, they can heal the world. Whereas if the leaders are going wrong, religious leaders go wrong, they can destroy the world. For example, all these fights happening in the name of religions. Just say bad people, bad leaders are there in all different religions. It's not only this religion or that religion. In all religions, the bad leaders are there, unfortunately. So the point is that we are not to give in. We are not to simply lose our hope. We are not to give up. Simply, good people should not retreat. How the bad people, how the evil wins is when the angels retreat. As the angels retreat, the evils win. Because one time, it was like almost 17 years ago, I was teaching some American students as a part of the program, and then the mother and the aunt of one of the students came to see me in Dharamsala. Then it was during the time of the election, and they were so they upset with George W. Bush, and they said that we feel so upset with him. Now we don't want to stay in America. We want to leave America. I said that, what, you want to support George W. Bush or you don't want to support him? You want to support him? Leave. Because you leave, then his count of the vote will increase. If you don't want to support him, stay there. Because the vote, his count will go down. Because you would cast a vote to the other side. So his power, the strength will go down. So therefore, it is by withdrawing, the angels withdraw, that the evils win. So that if we give up, saying that, oh no, religious people, no, we have nothing to do with religion. If this is our attitude, then what happens is that the world, these people, they can act in whatever way they like. So therefore, it is so important that the people, particularly the people who are concerned about the world, not about this religious head this religious leader, that religious leader. It's not about that. It's about somebody who's concerned about the world must think about creating harmony amongst the religions. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he says that he's not only a human being, number two, he's a religious person. He's a religious person. So therefore, he has every responsibility to make sure that all religious traditions, they come together, and that they are united. They are harmonious. This is so important because in the name of religion can be extremely a big explosive. This can be a great explosive to divert and to really explode the community and the world. So His Holiness came up with a very concrete 4 ways by which to bring about religious harmony. This is amazing. He's not just coming up with some kind of advice, but with the concrete solutions. Not just complaining, but he's coming up with a conclusion how to heal the problems. So there are 4 points on the basis of which the religious harmony can be brought out. So number 1, His Holiness says that the religious scholars, the scholars from the different religions, they should meet and they should talk about the different their philosophies, so that they will see that, okay, on the scholarly level, the different religions can come together and can discuss. It's not that they are fighting on the basis of the difference in the philosophical views. Number 1. Number 2, he says that the religious practitioners, not just scholars, practitioners should meet. For example, say the Hindu, the great teachers like there's one great teacher who passed away, Vinoba Bhave, amazing great teacher, Vinoba Bhave, and like the Mother Teresa from from the Christians, from the Christianity, Mother Teresa, Vinoba Bhave, if they meet, they'll find themselves as brothers and sisters. They will not see the difference. They will see the similarity. They see as, now my brother has come. Now my sister has come. Look at His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu, Archbishop, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, a Buddhist leader, and 2 of them meet. They are like 2 young children, 2 cute children, very playful, so happy to meet each other. And His Holiness just teasing him, tickling Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu would say that, hey, you are not Dalai Lama, you are His Holiness the Dalai Lama, behave well. Everybody's watching us. A mischievous Dalai Lama. Look, this is what 2 of them are, they're so beautiful. Different religions, it doesn't matter. This is the spirit of the brotherhood and the sisterhood which needs to be brought up there. So the religious practitioners, His Holiness very clearly says that if you see the people from the different religions practicing, not just scholars meet, that is one part. Number 2 is the religious practitioners they meet, they practice compassion. For example, the believers of God, they practice compassion because that God wants me to be compassionate, loving to us all. Look at the story of Jesus Christ. It's amazing, so inspiring. So one time, the first time I heard the story of Jesus Christ, and in fact, in many of my public talks, I begin with the story of Jesus Christ, not mentioning Jesus Christ. I begin by saying that there was a girl who was to be stoned to death by some men. And suddenly a gentleman appeared, and this gentleman asked all these men, saying that the first person to throw a stone to this girl should be the one who did not commit any evil. And all the men dropped the stones. Then I asked the public, do you appreciate this gentleman who stopped all these men from stoning the girl to death and saving the girl, rescuing the girl? And all these men, they dropped the stones. Do you appreciate that person who made that happen? Everybody said, yes, 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 yes. Then I asked them, do you know who that gentleman is? Most of them have no clue. Most of them have no clue. Only the Christians will say that it is Lord Jesus Christ. I said, yes. If I begin by stories saying that Jesus Christ came, all the non-Christians will block their ears and will run away. This is where we can learn. If the practitioners meet, they would feel how difficult it is to practice compassion. And when you see somebody from other traditions with such evolved experience of compassion, you have a tremendous, profound admiration in the other religions. This experience of compassion, which I've been practicing, is well practiced, is well demonstrated by the other religions as well. You have a tremendous respect for other religions. This is where the second point, meeting of the religious practitioners, number 2. Then number three, group pilgrimage by the representatives from the different religions. Group pilgrimage by the representatives from the different religions. They all come together. Christians, Muslims, Jains, Jews, Buddhists, Hindus, Baha'is, the Parsis or the Zoroastrianism, all come together, representatives come together. Then they go to the different holy sites like church, synagogue, then the masjid, then to the Buddhist place, the Jain's temple, and then the Baha'i temple. So like this, they go to all different religions. Then they do their meditation together. Then the public, they are seeing this. Wow, this is beautiful, it's amazing. We see the representatives. Oh. Okay, so they coming together of the group pilgrimage, coming together of the representatives of the different religions, and then go for group pilgrimage to all the different holy sites of all the religions. And then finally, said the leaders, the real leaders representing the whole of the particular religion, they should come together and come together on one platform, on one stage, and then speak in the same language, the language of peace. They all hold their hands like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Pope John Paul, the Pope Francis, and the different the leaders of other religions. They all hold their hands, each other's hands, and then speak the same language, peace, saying that we are just one. We are just one to create peace on the earth, not to fight. Okay, these are the 4 things His Holiness the Dalai Lama came up with, proposed as a means to bring about religious harmony. Number 2. Okay, number 3 is about creating the awareness of the Tibetan culture. This is interesting. Of course, His Holiness is also Tibetan. Meanwhile, okay, I have some personal views which I will share with you. His Holiness is also a Tibetan, and then they at one point pretend to this point, creating awareness about the Tibet and Tibetan culture to the world. During one of his public addresses, somebody asked His Holiness, Your Holiness, you are a world leader, not only a world leader in namesake, but you are a real world leader who really works for the whole world. Meanwhile, you also talk about creating awareness of the Tibet and Tibetan people. Number 3, your affinity to Tibetans. Then His Holiness, he is very smart. What he said was that, I have 5 fingers. Whichever, I love all my 5 fingers, but whichever of the finger is injured, I will take special care of that. So, Tibet as of now the world comes to know, America comes to know, India comes to know, and many countries, they come to know that the mistake that they made 60 years ago, the mistake that they made, right? Now all these conflicts are happening because, the world made China to become very powerful. Communist China to become very powerful. Say Tibet is part of China. China become even bigger, right? So the world made China very powerful. Now the world is scared. Now the world is saying that no, this is too late, right? Okay. So what I'm saying is that the point. This is the. So therefore, now the reality is that it's not really about the Tibet. So my personal view is slightly different, not really different. I have a separate viewpoint. The point is that the world made mistake. The world made mistake because of the short-sightedness. They could not see the world beyond 60 years, beyond 70 years. They could not see that. America made the mistake. Except for a few small countries, El Salvador and so forth, many countries made the mistake, including British. They made the mistake. Now they regret. Now people are coming up, not necessarily on the national level, but on the public opinion is coming very strong, saying Tibet independence, Tibet independence, Tibet. Now this is coming up. It's because they realize the mistake, that they are responsible for making China a very powerful, very big nation, and because of which now all the problems with 21 countries, believe it or not, 21 countries, there's a problem. And then this is just about the territorial problem, non-territorial problem with whole world. This is what is happening. So therefore, the Tibet can play a very important role in this regard. And luckily, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is there as the leader of the Tibetans, and the Tibetans will never resort to violence and so forth as long as His Holiness is there as their leader. So this is where the world failed to acknowledge that Tibet has a great leader and that we must not miss the opportunity. So, having been the case that His Holiness is not there as the leader of the Tibet, for sure, like any other nation, Tibet can easily go into violence. Easily. Look at French Revolution. Look at all the revolutions which happened. It's all because of the violence. Whereas the leaders, they promote the violence. For example, say even the Nelson Mandela, who received the Nobel Peace Prize, initial part of his life, he resorted to violence. Later, he adopted non-violence. Initially, he adopted violence. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama is the one, like Mahatma Gandhi, who resorted purely to non-violence. This is where the world, I'm not talking about only one nation, but the whole world made the mistake, except for a few small countries like El Salvador. They made the mistake that, the leader is very peaceful. Even if we say that Tibet is a part of China, he will not complain, he will not fight with us. Right? This is the greatest mistake the world made. And today the world regrets. Okay, so my personal, not my personal essay, my additional point is that, let's say a nation, one nation, let's say as a nation, if the nation can be very proud of somebody who receives Nobel Prize in physics, the nation will take the pride of that person. Likewise, the same nation, if there is the football, as the World Cup winner in football, the nation will take pride in that. So the same nation can take pride in the multiple facets of the functions of the nation. Likewise, the world has to take pride in the existence of multiple beautiful cultures, and Tibet is one of them. Tibet is a beautiful culture, amazing, beautiful culture, and of course to be credited to India. And Tibet, way before the advancement of Buddhism, the way before Buddhism advanced into Tibet, Tibet was really, not as what is today, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right? And the Tibetan people in general, Tibetan people in general, you meet with them. And then the more you meet with them, the more you befriend with them, you see that there's a greater purity coming out all the time. There's something so pure. It's all because of this beautiful culture of Buddhism, compassion brought from India. So the thing is that this is what Tibet is. So the world, having such a separate country who embody the people, the population, with the embodiment of compassion, this becomes a great treasure of the whole world. And the world is losing that. So therefore, I would say that the way His Holiness said, that all things, they are very precious, very precious. Likewise, all cultures, all beautiful cultures, cultures grounded on compassion, cultures grounded on wisdom, they should not die. I personally, what I say is, I'm a Buddhist, I'm not a Jain. But I personally saying that, meeting with the Jains, I always tell them that Jainism should not die. Jainism must proliferate. I always tell this. Because you meet with the Jain people in general. It's not that every Jain is good. Like, not that every Buddhist is good. Not that every Tibetan is good. That's not true. But generally speaking, you meet with the Jains, you see the warmth, you can feel the warmth. Once I was there in a huge group of Jains, they were celebrating something, and we were invited as, on a basis of the dialogue of the religious faiths, interreligious faiths dialogue. So I was there, and I was just feeling the vibration of peace. Amongst thousands of people chanting something, I could feel the peace there. I told the public there, in that address, I said that these people, I can't really imagine they will adopt terrorism. They will never adopt terrorism. I could feel the peace. Terrorism is to destroy. You will feel the disturbance. You don't feel the disturbance here. This is so beautiful. So I said that this religion must spread. It should not die. Likewise, Tibet should not die. It's a very beautiful culture. It's a very beautiful nationality. So therefore, His Holiness's third commitment, the promotion of the awareness of the Tibet and Tibetan culture to the world. This is very significant, pertaining from the worldview point of view. And then number 4, which is even more profound. Number 4 is reviving the ancient Indian philosophical traditions. This is so important. Finally, the point is that whether we are happy, while nowadays, psychiatrists, they become very popular. Psychologists, they become very popular. Clinical psychologists, there's a tremendous demand. Why? The digital world. And young people, they go into depression so easily. Suicide cases increasing. So therefore, what's the problem? It's the problem of the material. We have the material world and the mental world. Is it the problem with the material world? No, not at all. Material-wise, it is just really developing. But the problem is with the mental. So the mental, the Western culture, the modern education, mainly the heritage of the Western culture, legacy of the Western culture, this is really good for the material development. But for the mental development, for the mental ease, mental happiness, Eastern culture, particularly the culture which evolved in India, those culture, philosophy, psychology, grounded on psychology and philosophy, they are indispensably required for the development of the mind. In the absence of these, then the mental problems simply escalate. And because of which so many cases of the suicidal cases, the increase. So therefore, the healing the mind, that is to do with the Asian, particularly Indian, the traditional wisdom, the wisdom of psychology and the wisdom of philosophy. So these have a tremendous capacity to really rectify our thought processes, to make our agitated mind as very calm, peaceful, happy. So this is a unique legacy of the Eastern philosophical culture. So this is what His Holiness says that must be revived. And as of now, in the West, of course, their legacy is really thriving. That is Western education. Education of the brain and education of the materialism. Whereas in Asia also, while they have their own legacy of the philosophical tradition to develop the heart, that part is being neglected for the reason that you just look at how the Eastern worlds are behaving. Eastern worlds, they are copying everything from the West. They are copying everything from the West. Certainly in India, in Japan, in China, in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Singapore, Malaysia, and then the Burma, Cambodia, wherever you go, Sri Lanka, wherever you go, 20 years of a child, the prime shaping time of a child is dedicated after the modern education. Where is the system there to dedicate the child's prime of their life on the traditional wisdom philosophy? Where? Nowhere. In the Eastern countries. Forget about in the Western countries. Western countries, it doesn't matter. It is their own legacy, the modern education. But in the Eastern countries also, who have a rich the culture of the philosophy and psychology, they just ignore it and they just adopt the West. This is where we're going wrong. So in other words, we need both. It's not that we have to denigrate the Western culture. Western culture is very important. At the same time, we are not to denigrate your own culture, the Eastern, the philosophical traditions, how the mind can be rectified, how the mind can be, upgraded from the agitation to the peace, without having to resort to the medication. And the medications, antidepressants, well, number one, they're very expensive. Number two, it has tremendous side effects. It can destroy your whole nervous system. So whereas there is a system there where you don't have to resort to the medication, where you can just work it from within, the psychology and the philosophy to rectify your thought processes and vibrate it, just radiate it to the people around to make them happy, make yourself happy, that you don't have to resort to the antidepressants. So all these rich traditions are there. This is something which His Holiness says that is so precious, we must revive them. So these are what His Holiness calls as now the four pillars. And oftentimes His Holiness will say that 3 commitments. If 3 commitments, then the fourth can go into number 1, the promotion of human values on the basis of invigorating the quality of love and affection by the deeper studies of psychology and the philosophy. Okay, so this is my sharing with all of you. Thank you so much for listening. And if there are questions, so we'd like to also thank Geshe Tenzin, Menlhai Chamziling, Tibetan Buddhist Center, and Geshe-la's the assistants there. And then we have the Suhit Kelkar, our moderator, and everyone here. This is a great day for us to really remember the kindness and the legacies of His Holiness the Dalai Lama pertaining to the 3 commitments or the 4 pillars. Okay, thank you. And Kelkar, the Suhit Kelkar, if there are any questions, you are the moderator.
That lovely exposition. Thank you so much also for giving us your precious time. It's a great privilege to hear you. And if there are any questions from our Dharma friends, please take this golden opportunity to ask them to Geshe Dorji Damdul.
Okay, any questions?
I think. Hello.
Yes.
Yes. I think Geshe Dorji. Yes. Yes. Please go ahead. Geshe.
Yes, Rajesh ji.
Yeah. Good evening and Tashidalik to Geshe, and happy birthday to our His Holiness Dalai Lama ji, and thanks Geshe for coming to our center and giving us teachings. And thanks to our Geshe Center Geshe also. And my question is, Geshe, that meaning, when we want to, I want to help people, meaning they are already into the dharma, but not following that way. And if you tell them do this and attend your teachings, because I am not the one who can give them teachings or can guide them very perfectly. So tell them that either listen to your teachings or listen to any other teachers, whoever you feel good, meaning okay with, even if it is not our Buddhist, any other teachers. They will tell yes, but they don't do that. And many a time then they tell I am depressed, I am not happy, this, that. Then I tell you that you do meditation, do your teachings and all those. And meaning I can't help more than this. I can only guide you this way only. So I many a times feel bad about it, that not able to help more than that.
Okay.
So what can be done in that case?
Okay, Rajesh, thank you so much. Thank you. Your question is very practical. In fact, some of my friends, when I meet with some of my friends, and then the friends, they bring their own friends, and then they introduce their own friends to me, saying that it's so good if you can go to attend Geshe-la's teachings. I really feel irritated. So what I say is that, first I listen. First I don't interrupt. I listen. Let my friend say whatever he or she likes. Say it's good. You go to Tibet house, do Tibetan classes, and then you Geshe-la's teaching. They are very good. I first listen. Then the person finishes. Then I say that, okay, my friend, you don't have to come to Tibet. Please come to Tibet house. Please come to Tibet house, not for teachings, for a cup of tea. Just come for a cup of tea. Don't make it too formal. Don't make it too rigid. Class, philosophy, psychology. No, just come for a cup of tea. And then say, just introduce yourself. I'll introduce myself. I'll show you Tibet house. And then, good. Then we see each other as human beings. We appreciate each other. That's it, right? So meanwhile, I feel happy that somebody's there who came here, who enjoys the tea, a cup of tea. Tibet house tea is very good. Yeah, Tibetan tea is very good. So they can have a cup of tea and then can remember Tibet house on the basis of tea, not because of the teachings. Because the tea, they can remember Tibet house. And next time they want to let other people also enjoy Tibet house. Again, they will bring them to Tibet house. Then let them also have tea. It's not necessary that we should always meet for dharma, philosophy, psychology. Please let people also enjoy tea. You get it? And then when they come for tea, and then if they also want some good tea. Also, at times they feel like hearing about dharma or hearing, okay, I have a problem, and there's a breakup happening in the family, my boyfriend problem, my girlfriend problem, these things. Then they talk about this issue. Don't bring the philosophy. Don't bring psychology. Don't bring anything. Just talk about that, the point. So Mumbai is very fortunate. So the Rajesh, what you can do is that it's very easy. In future, if somebody said, I have this problem, that problem, say that, okay, you don't go to psychiatrist, right? If you want to go. But if you want me to help, I will tell you one thing. You go to have a cup of tea with Geshe Lobsang Tenzin. Right? You give the address and say you don't have to pay anything, just pay for the travel, pay for your own travel. Once you reach there, you don't have to even pay for the tea. Geshe Lobsang will give you a tea with so much love and affection. Be there, enjoy the tea, and if you like it, you can go next time. Perfect. You're getting it?
No, that I regularly give a call and travel by our Geshe La. Many a times I am
Don't
stuck
just
up
say
with this.
Geshe La. No, don't just say Geshe La. Geshe La is very complicated. Then they will ask you, what
Okay.
is Geshe La? Geshe La is a PhD. And then, oh, PhD, right? You just say Geshe La, and the highlight should not be Geshe La. Highlight should be the T, right?
Okay.
Just go to have the tea with the Geshe La. Right? So let them associate joy with Geshe La, not with the philosophy with Geshe La.
Okay.
Right?
Good. Thank you.
Welcome, Rajesh.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Okay, yes.
Hello.
Yes, Jeet ji.
Sir, my question is nowadays some people say our religion is scientific. Our religion is scientific.
Yes.
If the parameters are to judge the religion is science, then what is the position of the religion?
Okay. So basically, if somebody says that their religion is scientific, then you say, "Oh, thank you so much. It's very good. I'm happy." Right? We don't have to fight. We don't have to say that, "Oh, our religion is scientific. Yours one is not." We don't have to fight. Just say it's amazing. Is amazing. And for sure, majority of the religions, their practitioners, they get such a solace, they get such a strength, they feel the warmth and so forth from the religions. For example, I personally have a profound admiration to Jainism, Christianity, to other religions also. Particularly, there were instances where I felt the power of the say Christianity. Was one incident was that I was brought up in a pure Tibetan ghetto where say the no exposure to the outside world, the school, Tibetan school, then after this monastery, Tibetan monastery, always the Tibetan ghetto all the time. And then the mind is very closed, very narrow, very closed. At the one time I suffered from flu, terrible flu. And then as a student, as a young student, financially, I was in really, really bad shape. So I could not really afford to go to good hospitals. So I was inquiring, and somebody told me that there's a Christian missionary hospital. It's
Yes.
just very cheap. So I went there, and then there I could see that the nurses, they were all Christian girls, and the nurses, how they attend to you, there's a genuine. It's not like for the sake of having to complete the job. It's really with the genuine concern. I really, wow, that's amazing. I can see a genuine compassion coming from somebody from Christianity. So what I'm saying is that there is this admiration. The point is that there is yeah. For example, say the universities in Delhi in India, they're also very good. It doesn't mean that universities in England they are bad. Universities in England are also good. And universities in America they're also good. Universities in Singapore are also very good. Universities in the Aruba are also very good. Right? Yeah. So therefore, if one religion says that they are scientific, just congratulate. Thank you so much. So much. Don't I'm very happy that your religion doesn't follow blind faith. Blind faith is scientific. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that. I did not know this before. Just rejoice, right? Yeah, this would be my the suggestion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, Jeet. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. Kashid, Correct, Geshila. I'm TPO from Singapore. Can you hear me?
I cannot see you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, my webcam is spoiled, so I can only speak.
No problem. TPO.
Yes, that's right. I'm from Singapore. Geshila, thank you so much for sharing about, not really about politics, but about George Bush. Actually, Singapore now is in the midst of an election season.
Yes.
And the feeling that I have among my Dharma brothers and sisters is that as Buddhism, we should not get too interested or be minded about politics. So it becomes that the feeling I have, which actually I don't quite agree, is that Buddhism seems to be, the perception of Buddhism is that it's passive, Whereas from your sharing, I figured that it is not like that we can be proactive, but of course in a non-violent way. So perhaps you can throw more light on how we can be a little bit more involved in the political situation of our country, and how to vote wisely, because His Holiness always talks about wisdom and compassion. So my feeling is that we should vote for a party or a man with wisdom and compassion. Thank you very much.
Okay, TPO, thank you so much for your really, really, really practical and the hot question. Okay. So let's say that so let's say first, before we talk about Buddhism or religion, non-religion, let us first they begin from the scratch. Let us begin from the scratch. That is the 0.3 million years ago. 0.3 million years ago, the human beings appeared. At that point, no religion, no philosophy, and people are like no different from the animals, the wild animals. The only thing they have is that their thinking is a little more advanced, more sophisticated than the animals, and yet they're not as strong as the wild animals. The weaker wild animals, they are food. They become food for the human beings, and the bigger animals, the human beings, become food for the bigger animals. So this was the reality then. Then the human beings, the only good thing about the human beings was that their brain is a little more sophisticated, because of which they learn how to stay together, to be strong. And then the communities started to be formed. With the communities, the bigger the bigger the complications. Right? Bigger the community, bigger the complications. Okay. So because of it, then the leaders come into being. And the leaders, some of the leaders, they are very smart. So they want to make the people, the citizens or the people, the subject, more happy. So for that, then the thinkers, they were being valued, respected. Thinkers were valued, like say the historically speaking, chronologically speaking, like the many ancient. The Hindu or the Abraham first, Judaism, and then the many Hindu teachers, they came, and then the Buddha came, and then the Buddha in fact I learned that the Lord Mahavir is like 60, 70 years older than Buddha Shakyamuni. So there's a gap of 60, 70 years. The Lord Mahavir, then the Buddha Shakyamuni, then Jesus Christ, then the Prophet Muhammad, then the Guru Nanak, and Bahula there, Baha'i religion, and then the Zoroaster was way older. Zoroaster, all these teachers came, and then people valued their thoughts, and for the world to be happier. So Buddhism has a tremendous capacity. It is not that this is the best religion. This is not the point. The point is that this religion has a tremendous capacity to make the world a better, more compassionate world. This religion should not die. Jainism should not die. In other words, what I'm saying is that I'm not talking about only few religions. In fact, all the religions who speak about compassion, they are so precious. Buddhism is one of them. It should not die. So therefore, now the politics decides the world. Politics decides, for example, say in Tibet. In Tibet, I'll say you cannot freely join a monastery because of the political situation there. So therefore, the good people must be there in the politics to make sure that what drives the world, what drives the nation, should be good drivers. And so what happened was that once I was in Singapore. Okay, you're from Singapore, TPU.
Yeah,
You're
that's
from
right.
Singapore. I was in Singapore, and I went to meet one Christian father, and whose daughter is a Buddhist, and her father is Christian. And okay, to keep the story short, I met him, and then first I asked the girl, "I want to meet your father," and she said, "No, no, 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 no. He will not accept you." And I said, "No, your job is not to say no. Your job is to just give the message to your dad. Your dad's job is to say yes or no. It is his job, not your job. Your job is to give the message." Then she said, "Okay." Then I give the message to the dad, and the dad said no. So I said, I got a message. So I said, "Never mind. My job is done. Your job is done. His job is done." So the next year, I again asked the girl, "I want to meet your father." She freaked. She said, "No, no, 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 no." I said, "No, your job is to give the message. And your dad's job is to say no. My job is to make the request." And then she said, "Okay." She passed the message to the dad, and the dad accepted. Because I gave him 1 year to think. Yeah, he got 1 year to think. Okay, next time if he again make the request, then if he comes, then what should I do? If he will say like this, I will say like this. All these debates going, he got 1 year to think. So he thought very well, and then he accepted me. So in the discussion, my job is to say yes, yes, yes. If I say no, he will say get out. So my job is to say yes, yes, yes all the time. So how he started was that he said that in this world, Christianity is the best religion. I said, yes, yes, yes. If I said no, he said, get out. So I said, yes, 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 it's the best religion. Look at education, the Christian charity, education, health. It's amazing. Charities, it's amazing. Then he was very happy. And then finally he said that it's very good that His Holiness the Dalai Lama relinquished his political authority. Religious people should not be in the politics. Okay, this is exactly what TPU are saying. This is exactly what he said. He said that religious people should not be in politics. I said, yes, yes, yes. Again, if I said no, he will say, get out. I said, yes, yes, yes. Then it's about already like 1 hour. I said, yes, 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 all the time. And then I started to raise my voice. I told him, I personally believe that Obama is a very religious, spiritual-minded person. He said, yes, yes, yes. He's a very spiritual-minded person. Then I told him, imagine instead of Obama, if there is somebody who does not believe in religion, the whole world is going to be fragmented. He said, yes, 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 that's true. That's true. I said, therefore, religious people should be the political leaders. He said, you're very smart. This is, so therefore the thing is that the people who appoint, people who select the leaders, they should be well educated. If they're educated, there's no harm in the religious leaders to become the political leaders. There's no harm. When the people are not when people are not educated, when people are not well informed, then they can, because of their lack of education, simply because of a little bit of money, simply because of a little bit of nice words, people can all be, people can all be driven towards selecting the wrong leaders. Then particularly if the religious leader, a person in a religious faction come to become a political, it can be very dangerous, because he has not only political authority, he also has a religious authority. And if the mind is going towards anger and hatred, driven by anger and hatred, can destroy the whole world. It can be very dangerous. So therefore, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's concept of universal ethics, to really create awareness of universal ethics, that no matter what religion, transcend religion, and go for the universal ethics, ethics of the warmth towards warmth which embraces everybody as brothers, sisters. This must be introduced as an education program in the modern, as a part of the modern education system. So this is what His Holiness is really, his major worry is that must happen. If that happens, His Holiness could envision the world to be a more peaceful world in the future. Thank you, TPO. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe. My point actually is also that somehow my feeling is that many Buddhists do not want to get engaged in politics because they feel that Buddhism per se is rather pacifist, and not proactive. Of course, I don't believe that, because His Holiness also spoke much about it. But it is difficult sometimes, to.
Okay, yes,
yeah.
yes. So basically, pacifist and pessimistic, these two are different. Pacifist and pessimistic, these two are very different. So Buddhism is pacifist. Yes.
सर प्लीज अपने आप को म्यूट कर दीजिए, गेशेला बात कर रहे हैं. प्लीज कंटिन्यू गेशेला.
Okay. So pacifist and pessimistic, these two are different. So Buddhism does not encourage people to be pessimistic, but Buddhism encourages people to be pacifist. Pacifist meaning somebody who is against violence. This is very important. Not pessimistic. Pessimistic means totally indifferent. Okay, so your country is going down. Still, you are fine, right? Whatever is going wrong with your neighbor, yourself, or you are very passive. The Buddha said that we should be non-violent. This is a wrong connotation. So pacifist and pessimistic, they are not to be equated. We can be very active, but not to the extent of deviating the whole system on a basis of what you believe, disregarding others' thought processes. This is where one can go wrong. Yeah. So therefore, the point is that the Buddhism, all the teachings of Buddha, be it Theravada Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, as long as it is a teaching of the Buddha, the ground must be compassion. Compassion means to benefit others. Where somebody is dying, say because of the religious clash or whatever, so many hundreds and thousands of people are dying, and you remain silent, you are not being compassionate. So what you are doing is not that it does not accord with the teachings of the Buddha. So you must be able to raise the voice, at least to minimize the casualty happening. This is so important. The compassion must be the ground. When you are active, it doesn't mean that you are politicizing things. You can be very active to make sure that the wrongly driven, the people, the leaders whose mind are corrupted leaders, driving the whole population, the population into, say, the fragmentation, killings and so forth. The religious people, the Buddhist people, they must raise the voice to make sure that all these disasters, they are minimized if possible. Try to remove the disasters altogether, if not to minimize the loss of human lives and so forth happening, which is so important. Yeah, we should be active. Keep in mind that the Buddha's teachings, no matter what Mahayana teachings, of course, for the benefit of other sentient beings. Even Theravada teachings for personal liberation, even though it is just primarily driven for personal liberation, but still the Buddha said that the benchmark, the ground of all the Buddha's teachings is compassion. When the compassion is missing, then the compassion makes everybody the Buddha. Why this one Prince Buddha Shakyamuni, the Prince Siddhartha? He became so influential. In fact, he was there as a mediator between various kingdoms when they're about to go into war. He mediated them, and he is the founder and the founder of Buddhism, the Buddha Shakyamuni. He mediated these wars. He was actively involved to stop the wars with the different kingdoms. So we, as his followers, must, with the motivation of compassion, must be actively taking part to make sure that the world is heading towards peace, not towards destruction.
Thank you, Geshe.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining today's program. Is there a last question? We have time for one last question. Does anybody have any question? If not, we will call proceedings to a close.
Audrey
Thank you, Geshe.
Audrey from Pune has a question.
Thank you, Geshe.
Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So it was just a reflection, Geshe, on the third aspiration of His Holiness, where he talks about Tibetan culture and Tibet being the roof of the world and its implications for us in preserving that culture and its implications to global warming. So I thought maybe you could say something on that.
Yes, Audrey ji, I can sense that you are so well informed. Yes, is the Tibetan culture is not only just the culture per se. Tibet being the part of the roof of the world, also referred to as the roof of the world, from where many, the glaciers are there, and then many of the rivers, major rivers of the world, they originate from Tibet, and the deforestation, heavy deforestation in Tibet happens. Then they say the global warming. What is said that the global warming happening on the Tibet area, when that happens, then there's a major disaster with the rivers, flood, and then it can destroy the whole ecosystem of the world. This is a great danger. So therefore, as of now, what is happening was that there was a heavy deforestation happening with the annexation of Tibet. But the common China is seeing Tibet as just a place where to dump everything and to get everything from. So the heavy deforestation happening, and the minings in those days before the annexation of Tibet, Tibet, you won't believe, this is amazingly great, the wisdom, ancient wisdom, where the mining was not allowed. Mining was not allowed. Say, for example, in the places, naturally speaking, if there's some place where there's the natural, the mines, minerals, there are very precious minerals there. So that land itself becomes a healing land, a land to heal the people. For example, many of the say, be it allopathic medicine, Ayurveda medicine, Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine, Unani medicine, or say the Siddhi medicine, whatever medicine, or homeopathy, they are using something, either the natural, or something related to the natural resources. So even the allopathic medicines, they have to use some chemicals. These chemicals, they don't create. They don't come from the sky. They have to get the basic substance from somewhere. So from the natural resource. The point is that these natural resources, they have the capacity to heal. So in Tibet, say the whole culture of Buddhism invaded Tibet, and because of which the old Tibetan people, they're starting from the leaders, and then Tibetan people, masses, there is such an incredible civilization there. Mining is not allowed. Mining is not allowed. except for for major reasons of the government. Otherwise, majority it should be maintained as it is. It provides such healing to the whole people. Healing. So, and then the wildlife, no hunting allowed. All these degrees were there. This amazing tradition. So therefore, and then now, excessive deforestation. Everything happens. The whole very healing, the place of the healing for the whole world. So now that is being destroyed. And then the global warming. Say in Tibet, where it is, I think 3 degrees, it is increasing even more than the rest of the world. So when that happens, then the whole world, the ecosystem is going to be disturbed terribly. So therefore, the Tibetan awareness about Tibet and the Tibetan ecosystem is so important for the world at large. Yeah, thank you, Audrey-ji. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, Geshe Dorji Damdul. Thank you so much, Geshe Lobsang Tenzin. Thank you so much to all our Dharma friends who have chosen to attend today's online event. It is almost time for us to bring proceedings to a close, and I wish that everybody be well in this time of crisis. Bye-bye. If Geshe Lobsang Tenzin would like to say something.
Yes. Thank you, your Geshe-la, spent your precious time and amazing teaching. We learned a lot. And your support, me in our center, and your guidance help us a lot. Also, please continue in the future teaching and support and guidance. Thank you, Geshe-la, so much.